My name's Danny Harper, 42 years old, an auto mechanic living in Thunder Bay, a small city hugging the northern shore of Lake Superior in Ontario, Canada. Thunder Bay's not a place that turns heads about 110,000 people. An old shipping port now mostly moving grain. A few working-class neighborhoods with low brick houses painted white, but yellowing with time. A big paper mill that used to be the town's pride, but now limps along. And biting winds off the lake that drop winter temps below -15°C. I live in a rented apartment on the second floor of a 3-story building at 214 Algoma Street, in a blue-collar part of town where the streets are paved with mossy cobblestones and dotted with small grocery stores and coffee joints. My place isn't much a cramped living room with an old green upholstered sofa shedding stuffing, a kitchen corner stained with grease from hasty meals, a bedroom with a creaky double bed whose springs groan under me, and a tight bathroom where the hot water tap's been busted more often than it works. I like keeping things simple. After work, I crack open a cold Molson beer, sit back listening to Neil Young or Gordon Lightfoot's old rock tunes on a thrift store turntable I snagged 3 years back, or sometimes drive my 2005 Dodge Ram pickup out to Lake Superior to fish. Though I rarely catch anything worth bragging about, I'm not the standout type 5'9", lean but weary from manual labor, brown hair a mess I hide under a gray ball cap to cover a receding hairline, brown eyes that get bleary after long days bent under car hoods. I was born here in Thunder Bay in 1983, raised in an ordinary working family. My dad, George Harper, drove long-haul trucks, hauling lumber from northern Ontario forests to mills across the border in the States, gone for weeks at a stretch, coming home weekends with the smell of sweat and Camel cigarettes clinging to his beat-up leather jacket. My mom, Ellen Harper, worked the cash register at Sobeys on Red River Road, a petite woman with blonde hair gone gray, always carrying a small rosary in her purse, though she seldom used it. They weren't fire and brimstone religious, but every Sunday they hauled me and my sister Sarah to St. Andrew's, a modest gray stone Catholic church at Cumberland Street's corner. I'd sit in the back pew, legs swinging on the polished wood floor, half hearing Father Patrick preach about Psalm 91, "He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways," not paying much mind. Mom would grab my hand after Mass saying, "Danny, life'll get tough sometimes, but God's watching you. Remember that." I'd nod to keep her happy, not giving it much thought for me back then. God was some distant idea, nothing to do with garages, motor, oil, or the stack of bills piling up on my kitchen counter. I get by day to day, working at Thompson's Auto Repair, a small shop 10 minutes drive from my place, fixing everything from truck engines to flat tires, hands perpetually smudged black with grease. I make enough $8 rent a month, groceries from no frills, a little saved for rare days off. I've got no wife. No kids. Had one serious thing with a girl named Lisa when I was 30, but she moved to Toronto for an office job, and that was that. Since then, I haven't bothered looking, part too busy, part too awkward with the whole romance mess. I like the quiet of living alone, though sometimes, when Superior's winds howl through my window cracks on winter nights, I wonder if I've missed something along the way. February 2025 hit hard in Thunder Bay, snow blanketing Algoma Street thick, cold seeping into my bones, and I started coughing, a dry, raspy hack that stuck around, jabbing my chest now and then like a sucker. Punch. I figured it was just a cold. Popped some Tylenol from the Rexall down the block, threw on a thick sweater under my jacket at the garage where the heater's a joke. I hate doctors, hate hospitals, the sharp antiseptic stink, the endless beeping. Machines, the way some nurses looked at me cold, when I took Dad to the for stomach pain back when I was 25. I told myself it'd pass. But by early March, the cough got meaner, and a fever crept in low at first, just a warm flush, then blazing hot, soaking me in sweat even as I shivered under 3 blankets. I never figured I'd end up in a hospital bed soon, teetering on the edge of life and death, facing what I'm about to tell you. Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. I woke at a.m. in my apartment, body burning like I'd been tossed in an oven, head throbbing with every heartbeat, like a hammer on an anvil. I dragged myself out of bed, legs shaky on the cold hardwood, pulled the wool blanket around my shoulders, shuffled to the bathroom. Staring into the round, scratched mirror above the sink, a cheap thing Mom got me years back, my eyes were bloodshot, pupils tiny pinpricks, skin pale as paper, brown hair plastered wet with sweat across my forehead and temples. I grabbed the digital thermometer from the drawer under the sink, a bargain bin gift from Mom, stuck it under my tongue, waited for the beep. The screen flashed 39.5C. I sighed, thinking, not great, but I'll manage. I rummaged the kitchen cabinet, found a half-empty Tylenol pack, swallowed 2 pills with a glass of tap water, so cold it hurt my teeth, then pulled on my thick gray hoodie, the one I wear fishing, and flopped onto the sofa, hoping the fever'd break like it always did. Bym, it was worse. I was shivering hard, teeth chattering, hands and feet twitching faintly, like little electric jolts, weird but not painful. My chest felt heavy, breaths coming short and fast, each inhale like sucking air through a straw. I grabbed my phone. Off the coffee table, an old iPhone 7 with a cracked corner, called Jimmy Thompson, my coworker and the boss's son. My voice came out weak, choppy. Jimmy, I'm real sick. Can you take me to the hospital? He answered fast, worry sharp in his tone. Hell, Danny, what's wrong? I'm coming now. I heard his truck's engine rumble over the line. He was at the garage, less than 3 kilometers away. 15 minutes later, my door banged loud, and Jimmy burst in, a big guy, short blonde hair, in a brown Carhartt jacket and faded jeans. He saw me curled on the sofa, blanket tangled around me, face ghostly, and yelled, "Holy crap, Danny, how'd you get this bad? Get up, I'm taking you to the hospital now." He hoisted me up, one arm under my shoulder, the other gripping my elbow, pulling me out. I stumbled down the creaky wooden stairs, each step a battle, legs rubbery, head spinning. Outside, wind sliced through me, snow flurrying light, stinging my face. I hunched in the hoodie, leaning hard on Jimmy to stay upright. He drove his rusty blue Ford F-150, speeding me to Thunder Bay Regional Health Center, 15 minutes down Memorial Avenue. I drifted in and out, fever blurring the world-low red brick buildings, snow-laden pines lining the road, the hospital sign looming through fog, all smearing like a watercolor gone wrong. Jimmy glanced at me, voice tight. "Hang on, Danny. We're almost there. You're burning up. I can see your face red as a boiled lobster." I nodded faintly, too weak to speak, clutching my chest, every breath a grind. We hit the hospital at 10:40 a.m. Jimmy parked crooked by their entrance, jumped out, yanked my door open, hauled me down. I staggered, feet not my own, leaning into him to keep from falling. The ER's glass doors slid wide, antiseptic stench hitting me like a wall, making me grimace, white ceiling light stabbing my eyes. Jimmy shouted at the receptionist, a middle-aged woman with dyed brown hair, glasses perched low. "My buddy's real sick, high fever. Help him." She eyed me, frowned, grabbed her walkie-talkie. "High fever patient, need a stretcher now." A nurse, tall, skinny, black hair in a tight ponytail, Blue mask on, ran up with a stretcher. Jimmy and her lifted me onto it, my body limp. I heard the wheels squeak on glossy linoleum, pale green curtains flashing past as they rolled me into a smaller bay. She clipped a heart monitor to my finger, a cold plastic pinch hooked in 4 to my left hand, the needle stinging sharp, making me groan. The machine beeped, my pulse racing at 120 beats a minute. She scanned my forehead with an infrared thermometer, muttered, 42C too high. Needs a doc fast. I lay there, eyes drooping, the beeps fading like a distant drum, body sinking, heat roasting me alive. By PM, I was still on the bed, Jimmy beside me on a green plastic chair, elbows on knees, eyes worried. The nurse had stepped out to grab more saline. When I felt a strange twitch, my right hand jerked, then my shoulder, like someone tugged. A string. I opened my mouth to tell Jimmy, but my throat was parched. Only a croak came out. Then the seizure slammed me hard. My body convulsed, arms and legs thrashing wild, head snapping back into the pillow, eyes rolling up, whites all. I could see. Jimmy leaped up, yelling, "Help him. He's seizing." Footsteps thundered. The machine's alarm screeched. My heart rate spiked to 150, then 170. A Dr. Young, short black hair. Wire rim glasses burst in, voice sharp. Seizure from high fever, severe pneumonia. Lorazepam 2 milligrams. Cool him now. Get ice packs. I felt a needle jab my right arm, cold flooding in, but my mind slipped fast, like water down a drain. My chest locked, breath choked off, darkness rushed in machine beeps, Jimmy's voice. The lights all swallowed whole. I came to, but not on the hospital bed. I stood in an odd place, a long hallway, walls gray-white and patchy, like an old hospital's but rougher, cracked and stained yellow. Dim golden light spilled from round bulbs dangling overhead, frayed wires poking out, swaying faint though. No breeze stirred. The floor under my bare feet was icy, tiles chipped and peeling, but I felt no pain, no fever, no exhaustion, just light, like I'd shrugged off a stone-filled backpack I'd carried my whole life without knowing. I looked down, no sweaty gray hoodie or stained t-shirt, no line in my arm, just a plain white outfit, like a patient gown, but smooth, spotless, unwrinkled. I took a breath, air clean and crisp, no antiseptic bite or garage oil reek, just a faint whiff of pine, like fishing trips on Superior. I wasn't scared, wasn't panicked, just curious, sensing this wasn't Thunder Bay, wasn't anywhere I'd been. A voice sounded deep, warm, clear, ringing from the hall's walls, but pulsing in my chest like a second heartbeat. "Daniel," it called, not loud but piercing, jolting me to turn. I looked up, and he was there, not a white bearded man on a throne or an angel with glowing wings like the paintings at STT. Andrews, but a soft golden light, like our lamps yet alive, warm, radiating a pull that made me want to kneel without thinking. I knew it was God. No one had to say it, no proof needed. I felt him in every breath, every cell. I trembled, knees buckling to the cold floor, tears bursting free, rolling down my cheeks, dripping onto broken tiles. "Lord," I choked, voice hoarse like after a coughing fit. "Am I dead? Where's this? Why am I here?" He answered, gentle but solid, "Not yet, Daniel. You're not dead, but you're on the line between life and death, where I show you the truth you need before you go back." I peered up, tears blurring my sight, trying to stare into that golden glow. But it didn't blind, just wrapped me like Mom's hand on mine as a kid. The hallway dissolved, fading like mist, and I saw the hospital Thunderbazer, but not how I left it. I saw myself on the bed, body jerking hard, limbs flailing like a cut string puppet, head arched back, eyes rolled white. The young doctor, with glasses leaned over, syringe in hand, sweat beading his brow. The ponytail nurse stood by, pushing an ice-pack cart, hands shaky as she tore bags open. Jimmy hunched in the corner, face pale, hands clutching his head, muttering, "Hold on, Danny, hold on," but above them, I saw something else dark, shapeless shadows hovering, no faces, no forms, just swirls of black curling around each person like toxic smoke. One clung to the doctor, whispering in his ear inaudible. But I knew, you've got to outdo them. Save him to prove you're the best. The doctor gritted his teeth, gripped the syringe tighter, eyes red, not just from care, but from unseen pressure. Another shadow latched to the nurse, hissing, "He's not worth it. Skip him. Rest. You're done." She glanced at me, irritation flickering, hands slowing as she packed ice. I saw Jimmy, genuinely scared, but a shadow murmured, "You've done enough. Go home. Who cares if you stay?" He stood, stepped toward the door, hesitated, turned back. "What are they, Lord?" I asked, voice cracking, fists clenched on the floor. He said, "Demons, Daniel. Not where people think, in dark alleys, cold graveyards, empty woods. Those places are barren, no humans, no souls for them to grip. The most demon-ridden place is the hospital where life and death collide, where desires and true natures spill out raw. Here, fear of survival, ambition to prove yourself, hatred of pain, it all pours free, unguarded." I looked again, and the scene widened not just my bay, but the whole hospital. Next room over, an old man lay frail, bony hands clutching sheets, whispering to a shadow, "I've got to live. I need my kids' money. They can't take it." He wheezed, eyes glinting greedy, not love. Another nurse in the hall, eyes red from a long shift, heard, "They don't thank you. Ditch them. You deserve rest." She slammed a fist on the wall, muttered curses, turned from a patient calling. Her? I saw a relative in the waiting room, phone in hand begging friends, but a shadow hissed, "Doctors are useless. They're after your cash. Sue them." He snarled at the clerk, face flushed with rage. "How do they do it, Lord?" I asked, voice quaking, hands icy on the tiles. He replied, "Demons rarely strike outright. They're too weak to kill or take solid shape. They amplify what's in the heart, magnify fear, greed, anger, turn them into fires that burn from within. Hospitals are their fertile ground, bodies aching, minds scrambled, souls fragile. They don't create sin, just make it bigger, lead you astray to ruin yourself." More scenes flashed across Thunder Bay's hospital. A doctor in the break room yelled into his phone at his wife, "You don't get how stressed I am." But a shadow whispered, "She's not worth it. Ditch her. You're better." He hurled his coffee mug at the wall, hands shaking not from her, but an inflated ego. A young mom in pediatrics cradled her crying kid, but a shadow said, "You suffer for it. Dump it. Live for you." She squeezed it tight, eyes flashing cruel at her own child. A man in the hall, hospital bill in hand, heard, "They're scamming. You, sue them. Get your money." He roared at the cashier, face red with rage run wild. I clutched my head, tears falling harder, asked, "Why, Lord? Why me seeing this?" He answered, "Because you need to know, Daniel. People think demons lurk out there dark, cold places, but they're here, in hospitals, in hearts at their weakest. They don't need to show themselves, just whisper, and humans do the rest. I show you so you'll go back, live different." "What do I do, Lord?" I asked, voice raw, hands trembling. He said, "Go back, Daniel. Live and tell them. Demons aren't in graveyards or alleys, they're in hospitals. In them, when they let darkness swell. Keep Psalm 91 in your heart. He shall keep thee in all thy ways, and pray when desires surge, when fear or anger grow too big. See them, and they lose power. I'm with you always, the golden light pulsed, warm like mom's breath. When I was small, then faded. The hallway melted, tiles blurring under me, and I was yanked back fast, strong, like a reverse tunnel, but not frightening. I snapped awake on the hospital bed, chest aching like I'd been punched, breaths weak and choppy, antiseptic stinging my nose into a dry cough. The heart monitor beeped steady pulse down to 90, IV still dripping cold into my left hand. White ceiling lights glared, forcing me to squint, head reeling like I'd run a marathon. Jimmy sat beside me on the green plastic chair, face ashen, gripping my hand, voice shaky. "Danny, you scared the hell out of me. You were thrashing bad, I thought you were gone." The ponytail nurse stepped in, checked the monitor, said, "You're awake, good. Seizure from high fever, severe pneumonia. You're lucky hit 40, 5C coming in," I rasped, throat-like. "Sand, not luck," she frowned, flicked her eyes at me like she'd ask, but turned to grab more ice packs, said nothing. The young doctor with glasses came in after, clipboard in hand, voice tired. "Mr. Harper, you've got acute pneumonia. Bad infection in your left lung. Fever spiked, the seizure rare but dangerous. We shot you with lorazepam antibiotics, cooled you with ice. You're bouncing back faster than expected, but you're staying a few days." I nodded, head still throbbing, asked, "How long was I out?" He said, "About 20 minutes seizure. Lasted 2. Your heart stopped a bit, we almost had to shock you." I closed my eyes, saw the hallway, the golden light, whispered, "God pulled me back." He smirked like he didn't buy it, scribbled something left. They kept me 5 days, moved me from her to the inpatient ward, room 312, a double with green curtains and a window overlooking a snow-crusted parking lot. I lay there, 4 pumping. Antibiotic ceftriaxone. They said sipping cold water from a plastic cup the nurse handed me. Fever fading though my chest hurt with every cough. Jimmy stayed the first day, brought me a turkey sandwich from a joint near the hospital, sat chatting about garage gossip to keep me from boredom. Day 2, he had to work, but called nightly, "You good, Danny?" I was worried sick. I chuckled weak. Getting there, don't sweat it. Over those 5 days, I saw nurses worn thin, snapping at patients after long shifts. Saw families in the halls, anxious but flashing anger when doctors lagged. Saw my roommate, an old guy, moaning for his son, but eyes gleaming at talk of cash. I recalled his words, the most demon-ridden place, and spotted it in their looks. Their words: fear to live, rage, despair, not evil people, just darkness blown big, whispering in their heads like it had whispered in mine on. Bad garage days, wanting to smash something when a car wouldn't fix, or envying Jimmy for being faster. Day 5, March 9th. I got discharged. The doctor's last check, lungs better, fever gone. No more seizures, gave me a script for antibiotics another week. Said rest 2 weeks before work. Jimmy picked me up, drove me home. I climbed the creaky stairs, opened my door, saw the old sofa just as I'd left it, blankets slung messy. I sat, stared out the window, snow melting slow on Algoma, and felt life, fragile but fierce, pumping in me. I changed after, quiet but real. I took 2 weeks off the garage like the doctor ordered, but didn't just loaf. I went back to St. Andrews, first time in over a decade. Sunday, March 16th. I sat mid-pew, not the kid swinging legs anymore, but a 42-year-old man listening. As Father Patrick read Psalm 91, "He shall give his angels charge over thee." The words sank in like rain on dry dirt, and I prayed silent, clumsy. "Lord, keep me from that darkness." I felt him close, not the hallway's golden glow, but peace in my chest. I told Jimmy the next day at the garage visiting. He stopped, wrenching a bolt, stared. "You serious, Danny? God talked to you?" I nodded. "Yeah, and demons aren't in graveyards, they're in hospitals, in our heads." He squinted, then nodded. "You nearly died. I believe you saw something." I facetimed Mom, told her. She cried on screen, clutching her rosary. "Danny, you were chosen to see, to live different." I smiled, eyes stinging. "Maybe so, Mom. I'm no preacher, no guy for crowds, but if you're hearing this, listen. Demons aren't in dark alleys or deep woods, they're in hospitals, in us when we're weakest. They don't hit direct, just whisper, amplify stuff, fear, anger, greed, till we lose our way, hurt ourselves. I saw them under cold white lights, in doctors' eyes, nurses, in me when I'd rage at slow customers or envy Jimmy's speed. But God's there, pulled me back, gave me Psalm 91 as a shield. I live remembering each day. I crack a beer, sit on my sofa, watch snow melt outside, pray, "Lord, keep me from those whispers." Sometimes, in Superior's wind whistling through my window cracks, I hear him. "I'm here, Daniel, for the first time. I believe, truly believe."